Hello, this is Arindam Ghosh. In this present video, I'll discuss what is post-colonial literature. In the previous videos, I have talked about the conception of colonialism, the ideological foundation of colonialism, various terminologies related with colonialism and post-colonialism, of course. Terms like diaspora, mimicry, Orientalism, nation and nationalism. I've discussed and explained these terminologies in the previous video. Now, in this particular video, I'll talk about post-colonial literature and specifically, of course, the chief exponents of post-colonialist theory. Now, what is post-colonial literature? It's the literature of the countries that were once colonized mainly by the European countries. For example, India, for example, Africa and various other countries of the continents of Africa, of course, Sudan, be it Morocco, be it South Africa, Angola, they are also post-colonial countries. And at the same time, it also refers to the literatures of the Australia, Canada, and of course, Caribbean literature. So, post-colonial literature often addresses the problems and the consequences of the decolonization of a country, and it especially questions relating to the political and cultural independence of the formerly subjugated people. So it addresses about various problems and problematics regarding post-colonial identity. স্বাধীনতার পরে কি হলো, স্বাধীনতার পরে এই ধরনের যে ধরনের সিটিজেন বা সাবজেক্ট ক্রিয়েটেড হলো, তাদের যে সাইকোলজিক্যাল ডাইমেনশন, তাদের টার্মোয়েল ইনসাইড দেয়ার মাইন্ড, the anxiety regarding the formation of the post-colonial identity, all these have been addressed in the post-colonial literature. So in post-colonial theory, they try to give voice to the marginal identities or characters who are on the periphery in the early narration or in history. যারা ইতিহাস এবং অন্যান্য জায়গাতে those who live in margins, প্রান্তিকভাবে বাস করে, those who live in the periphery, তাদের প্রশ্ন তোলার ক্ষমতা এই পোস্ট কলোনিয়াল থিওরি দেয়। সো পোস্ট কলোনিয়াল লিটারেচার বলতে আমরা বুঝবো লিটারেচার অফ ইন্ডিয়া after the independence. Not all literatures are post-colonial literatures, specifically those literatures which concerns with the post-colonial identity, with the theme of the colonialism, with the identity of the migrants. In fact, diasporic literature are also concerned, as generally considered as post-colonial literature. The Caribbean literature, the African literature, the Australian literature, the Canadian literature, এগুলো সবকটাই আমরা বলতে পারি এই সমস্ত লিটারেচারে যেগুলো পোস্ট কলোনিয়াল ইস্যু নিয়ে লেখা, এগুলোকে আমরা পোস্ট কলোনিয়াল লিটারেচার বলে কনসিডার করতে পারি। So there is another term called Commonwealth literature. So what is Commonwealth? Often used synonymously with post-colonial literature. So Commonwealth actually means British Commonwealth, British nation, which is a political community. The Commonwealth is an intergovernmental organizational structure which incorporates 54 nations which were formerly part of the British Empire. ये बोला होता ना जो British Empire কোনোদিন সূর্য অস্ত যায় না, প্রায় 54টা নেশন নিয়ে তৈরি এই ব্রিটিশ কমনওয়েলথ ইন্টারগভর্নমেন্টাল অর্গানাইজেশন। এই 54টা দেশকে বলা হতো কমনওয়েলথ এবং তাদের লিটারেচারই হচ্ছে কমনওয়েলথ লিটারেচার। দ্য অরিজিনাল ফ্রেজ কমনওয়েলথ or the commonweal comes from the old meaning of the wealth, which means well-being. So the term literally meant the common well-being of all those nations. Well-being এর তো চেষ্টা ব্রিটিশরা অবশ্যই করেছিল, অ্যাট লিস্ট তারা এই ডিসকোর্স প্রোপাগেট করেছিল, আমরা জানি না কতটা করেছিল, কিন্তু এসেনশিয়ালি তারা এই ওয়েল-বিইং এর যে চেষ্টা করেছে এটা তাদের কলোনিয়ালিস্ট ডিসকোর্সের মধ্যে তারা স্পষ্টভাবেই বলেছে। সো বেসিক্যালি কমনওয়েলথ লিটারেচার ইজ আ body of writing created in the English language by persons who were themselves white Britons or Irish or citizens of the United States of America. So basically সেই সমস্ত body of writing ke Commonwealth literature বলা হয় in English language, those were themselves white Briton or at least lived in these countries. Okay, so writers like Salman Rushdie, R.K. Narayan. R.K. Narayan was neither Briton nor white, but he is considered in the Commonwealth literature. Commonwealth nation he belong করে. Nayantara Saigal, of course Mulk Raj Anand, they have been considered as Commonwealth writers or the propounders of the Commonwealth literature. So a study of the post-colonial literature must begin with historical contexts of colonialism. Contexts that are unremittingly and frighteningly shot through violence. As I've said, that colonialism is actually about violence, suppression, oppression, corruption, and extreme exploitation, both in the level of the epistemic, cultural, economic, political, and military level. So it is so integral to the history of the third world nations that no literature or critical approach has been able to ignore it. Be it Marxism, be it feminism, be it if in fact deconstruction, other linguistic philosophies, they cannot able to reject post-colonialism. কারণ এই রাগ, এই ভয়ঙ্কর এক্সপ্লয়টেশনের ইতিহাস, এটা এই নেশনগুলোর মধ্যে এমনভাবে এমবেডেড হয়ে আছে, এপিস্টেমিক, কালচারাল, ইকোনমিক, পলিটিক্যাল, মিলিটারি, সব দিক দিয়ে it becomes so much integral to the history of these nations that they can't able to ignore it. So post-colonial literature seeks to address the ways in which non-Europeans, that is Asians, Africans, South Americans and the settler colonies, their literatures and cultures have been marginalized as an effect of the colonial rule. So post-colonial literature is all about resistance, about anger, about protest, about hope, প্রতিবাদ, প্রতিশোধ, রাগ, এই সব কিছু নিয়েই post-colonial literature. আমি লাস্টে একটা post-colonial literature রিডিং কেমন করে পড়তে হয় সেটা তোমাদের সঙ্গে আমরা পড়ার চেষ্টা করব. But it seeks to understand history so as to plan for the future. It tries to understand history in its various cultural, economic, social, political and military context. So আমি post-colonial literature কাকে বলে বললাম, definition of post-colonialism and various exponents of post-colonial literary texts, writings of Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children, V.S. Naipaul's The Mimic Man, Ngugi wa Thiong'o's Petals of Blood, and of course Arundhati Roy's The God of Small Things, Aravind Adiga's White Tiger, Tiger's White Tiger, and Amitabh Ghosh's The She of Poppies. What are the themes of this post-colonial literature? Biculturalism, দুটো কালচার, be it British culture or the Indian culture, তার মধ্যে they're always shuttling around. Nationalism, অনেক ক্ষেত্রে জাতীয়তাবাদ, local and tribal identities, for example in the writings of the Mohashshata Devi, as opposed to the universal humanism, liberal humanist, এই সমস্ত নোশনগুলোর বিপক্ষে দাঁড়িয়ে এক ধরনের লোকাল আইডেন্টিটিকে প্রমোট করার চেষ্টা এই পোস্ট কলোনিয়াল লিটারেচারের মধ্যে ভয়ঙ্কর হবে থাকে. And the conflict between the European modernization and native tradition, generating a discourse about the nature of the post-colonial identity. A constant conflict, দ্বন্দ্ব, ইউরোপিয়ান কালচার চেষ্টা করছে নেটিভ কালচারের উপরে ডমিনেন্স করতে, নেটিভ কালচারও রেজিস্ট করছে. এই নেটিভ ট্র্যাডিশন এবং ইউরোপিয়ান মডার্নাইজেশনের মধ্যে কনফ্লিক্ট, যে দ্বন্দ্ব, যেটা আমরা রাজা রাভেল লেখায় পেয়েছি, প্যাট্রিক হোয়াইট, ডেরেক ওয়ালকট, প্যাট্রিক হোয়াইট অস্ট্রেলিয়ান, ডেরেক ওয়ালকট ক্যারিবিয়ান, তাদের লেখার মধ্যে পেয়েছি. দিজ আর অল পার্ট অফ দ্য post-colonial identity. So cultural roots, identity, migrancy, multiculturalism, displacement, diaspora ক্ষেত্রে বলি যাতে কোনো জায়গায় চলে যাওয়া, these all became integral part of the post-colonial literature. These are the characteristic motives of the post-structuralist literature, be it suppression, exploitation, oppression, humiliation, slavery and resistance. So what is then post-colonial theory? তাহলে post-colonial theory আমরা কাকে বলবো, post-colonial literature কাকে বলবো আমরা জানলাম. So post-colonial theory focuses on the reading and writing of the literature written in previously or current colonized countries. So theory is basically a form of critical thinking. It tries So, post-colonial critical theory actually tries to look into the relationship between the colonizer and the colonized through the critical lens, and it tries to critically examine and investigate what happens when these two cultures, the cultures of the colonized and the colonizer, clashes with one another, and one of them ideologically fashions itself as superior and assumes dominance and control over the other. So it tries to critically examine this entire process of domination, hegemonization, and establishment of superiority. How this entire discourse is happening and is being ideologically controlled by a particular race which has projected itself as superior. Post-colonial theory tries to delve deep inside this form of theoretical framework. And at the same time, post-colonial theory is a term that actually refers to the theoretical and critical observations of the former colonies of the Western powers and how they are related to and interact with the rest of the world. So basically, it tries to look into the dialogue or a kind of interaction between the European colonial powers and the so-called inferior races, like there are the Africa, India, various other Southeast Asian countries. It tries to look inside the dynamics of the interrelationship between these nations. The field of post-colonial studies arrived in the 1960s, in the 1970s, and it itself has been hotly contested over since the rise of the post-colonial literature in the 1960s. Now, basically, at its most fundamental level, post-colonial criticism has its number of objectives. It has certain aims. Most fundamentally, to re-examine history of colonialism from the perspective of the colonized. Because I have already said, history is a constructed representation on the part of those who are very powerful. The powerful people always trying to control history. They always are very skeptic of representing themselves in a very transparent way, and hence history is always a very hotly politicized and contested zone, because the history of the colonizer and colonized has always been distorted by the colonizer. So post-colonial theory tries to re-examine history, tries to look into history from a very different lens, from the perspective of the colonized. যারা অত্যাচারিত হয়েছে, those who are subaltern, those who are colonized, তাদের দিক দিয়ে ইতিহাসকে দেখার চেষ্টা করছে. This is the first aim. Second aim, to determine the economic, political and cultural impact of colonialism on both the colonized peoples and the colonizing powers. So it also talks about a kind of transactional contact zone, that the relationship between the colonizer and the colonized is not monolithic. এটা কেবলমাত্র একটা ওয়ান ডাইমেনশনাল রিলেশনশিপ নয়. অনেকেই বিশ্বাস করে that colonizer influenced colonized a lot, but the same is also true in case of the influence of the colonized people on the colonizer. So it tries to determine the economic, political and cultural impact of the colonialism on both the people, on the colonizer and the colonized. And at the same time, it tries to analyze the process of decolonization. How this process of decolonization, the breaking away, the dismantling of the colonial force in that particular country happens. How those people, the colonized people, how they have returned to their metropole and why. Post-colonial theory tries to analyze this process of the dismantling of the colonization, and above all, they try to participate in the goals of political liberation, which includes equal access to the material sources, the contestation of the forms of the domination, and the articulation of the political and cultural identities. So post-colonial theory always tries to talk about the goals of the political liberation, what political liberation means to these colonized people, and it also talks about various the rise of the political and cultural identities in this post-colonial nation. So early voices of the anti-imperialism stressed the need to develop or return to indigenous literary traditions so as to exorcise their cultural heritage of the specters of the imperial domination. So these early voices of the anti-imperialism, they tries, they just declare that they always that they want to return into the indigenous literary tradition. But it's not that simplistic. এত সহজে পুরো বিষয়টা হয় না। যেটা ঘটে একটা খুবই কমপ্লেক্স ডায়ালগ বিটুইন দ্য কলোনিয়াল অ্যান্ড দ্য বিটুইন দ্য কলোনাইজার অ্যান্ড দ্য কলোনাইজড, একটা অত্যন্ত হটলি ডিবেটেড টপিক, একটা হটলি ডিবেটেড কন্টেস্টেশন কনস্ট্যান্ট চলতে থাকে। And the fundamental framework of the post-colonial thought has been furnished by the Marxist critique of colonialism and imperialism. As I will discuss later on, that most of the colonial thinkers, post-colonial thinkers, were heavily been influenced by the Marxist thought. Frantz Fanon, be it Frantz Fanon or Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak or Homi K. Bhabha. So this entire thinking of the critique of the imperialism has been originated from Marxist thought, and which has been adapted in their localized contexts from by thinkers like Frantz Fanon to Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak. This particular passage has been quoted from M.A.R. Habib's Modern Literary Criticism and Theory, page number 739. So now let us have a look into some of the notable, very important post-colonial theorists. Who were they? Frantz Fanon, I will discuss about him elaborately. Of course, Edward Said, a celebrated academician, an Arab academician who was later been migrated to America. Of course, Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak, our very own Gayatri Ji, she's a Bengali academician, a celebrated academician throughout the world, whether in post-colonialism or in feminism or in other form of critical thinking. Homi K. Bhabha, another Indian thinker, and of course our own Dipesh Chakraborty. So Frantz Fanon, Edward Said, Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak, Homi K. Bhabha and Dipesh Chakraborty. I will discuss these 5 thinkers elaborately in my lecture on post-colonial theory. So to summarize, post-colonial theory is basically is a method of interpreting, reading and critiquing the cultural practices of colonialism. So it's at the same time is a form of interpretation. It tries to excavate inside the various forces that is operating inside colonialism. At the same time it tries to critique the cultural practices of colonialism. কলোনিয়ালিজম যেরকমভাবে বিভিন্ন কালচারাল ইম্পোজিশন, সাংস্কৃতিকগতভাবে বিভিন্ন ইম্পোজিশন করেছে কলোনাইজদের উপরে, সেগুলো পড়ার চেষ্টা করে। সো হোয়ার ইট প্রপোজেস দ্যাট দ্য এক্সারসাইজ অফ দ্য কলোনিয়াল পাওয়ার ইজ অলসো দ্য এক্সারসাইজ অফ রেশিয়ালি ডিটারমাইন্ড পাওয়ার্স অফ রিপ্রেজেন্টেশন। সো colonialism is always already and inextricably connected with the idea of the racism, the racial discrimination, and the separation and segregation from the self to the other. So the constant this notion of the violence and segregation between the self and the other is the colonized people, self is the colonizer, who is a superior, who always puts himself in a superior vantage position. So this kind of discrimination is always very much in an active state in colonial thinking, we must say that. Now moving into Frantz Fanon. Frantz Fanon was a famous West Indian French psychiatrist, psychologist, and a Marxist political philosopher who completely changed the paradigm of the post-colonial theory around 1920s, around 1950s and 1960s. And he was a leading theorist and activist of the Third World struggle against this form of colonial oppression. He was one of the most powerful voices of the revolutionary thought in the 20th century. So born in the French island colony of the Martinique in the West Indies, he later subsequently trained himself as a psychiatrist, and for the first time he talked about the psychopathology of the colonial discrimination. What kind of psychological impact this form of colonialism left on the mind of the colonized, and his origins and his experience in both Martinique and France exposed him to the issues of the racism and the colonialism. So he was very much vocal about this form of racial discrimination on the blacks, and a very important influence on him was his teacher Aimé Césaire, who was another along with Leopold Senghor. Aimé Césaire was a leader of the Negritude movement, which actually called for the cultural separation rather than the assimilation of the blacks. It for the first time talks about the separation of the blacks from the whites. Fanon wrote 2 books throughout his lifetime. These 2 books are very important. One is The Black Skin and White Masks, published in 1967, which for the first time explored the psychological effects of racism and colonialism. And of course, another very, very important text is The Wretched of the Earth, published in 1963. So these 2 texts are very important, Black Skin and White Masks and The Wretched of the Earth. Fanon was the psychiatrist and philosopher who for the first time talks about the psychopathology of colonialism, the psychopathological impact of colonialism, the impact of the racism and the racial discrimination on the mind of the colonized. And he also says that imposition of a subjugating colonial identity is very much harmful to the mental health of the native indigenous people who were subjugated into colonies. He also talks about this dehumanization of the colonized. The colonized ke amra manush bole ar treat korchi na. This dehumanization is achieved with both the physical and the mental violence. Colonizer দিনের পর দিন ধরে colonizedদের উপরে physical and mental violence এর থ্রু দিয়ে তাকে ডিহিউম্যানাইজ করছে, তাকে মনুষ্যতর একটা প্রাণীতে পরিণত করছে, আর মানুষ হিসেবে তাকে প্রতিষ্ঠিত করার চেষ্টা করছে না। Because that's the main objective and aim of the colonist, and through this he actually means to inculcate a servile mentality upon the natives. So Frantz Fanon's 2 famous books, The Wretched of the Earth and Black Skin and White Masks. Writing in the 1960s in the context of the Algeria and its French colonial occupation, Fanon has been an influential figure in the post-colonial theory. I already informed you. His Wretched of the Earth published in 1963 and his Black Skins, White Masks in 1967. They are actually one of the greatest and most influential texts of post-colonialism in the 20th century. He was fascinated by the psychological effects of the colonialism on both the colonizer and the colonized. And he argued that for the repressed and suffering native, colonialism destroyed the very soul. So these words, this entire paragraph and some of the other paragraphs in this particular PowerPoint has been taken directly from a very favorite book of mine, A Contemporary Literary and Cultural Theory from Structuralism to Eco-Criticism by Pramod K. Nair, one of the greatest scholars of India. I highly recommend his book. This is the e-book Contemporary Literary and Cultural Theory from Structuralism to Eco-Criticism by Pramod K. Nair, published from the Pearson. I highly recommend it to you to buy this book, especially for the post-colonialism part. একটা তো টেক্সট কিছু একটা করতে হয়, so I follow this particular text for reading post-colonialism. So Fanon was extremely fascinated by this psychological effects of colonialism on both the colonizer and the colonized, and he said that this form of repression on the part of the colonizer actually destroyed the very soul of the colonized. Constantly psychologically তার উপরে এক ধরনের ইনফ্লুয়েন্স ফেলা হয় যার থ্রু দিয়ে সে নিজেকে ইনফিরিয়ার ভাবতে শেখে। তার মধ্যে বিভিন্ন ধরনের স্টিরিওটাইপ তৈরি হয় যে আমি ইনফিরিয়ার, কলোনাইজার সুপিরিয়ার, আই এম এসেনশিয়ালি ফেমিনাইন ইন নেচার। সে একটা ম্যাসকুলাইন ভিরিলিটিকে সিম্বলাইজ করছে। So the colonial masters constant representation of the native as a non-human animalized creature annihilates the identity of the native. This constant representation of the native as non-human and animalized entity actually annihilates the identity of the native. Native je nijosho identity সেই destroyed হচ্ছে. I remember a famous passage from Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, where a man from Congo, a manual laborer from Congo, is being described and is being compared with a dog. Okay, so always in colonizers' gaze, a native is a non-human, animalized entity. And Fanon says that how this psychology of the colonialism actually happens. He says, when the colonial paints the native as evil, as pagan, as a believer of many gods, as an inferior believer of the primitive gods and deities, over a period of time, the native begins to accept this prejudiced and racialized view as true. He truly, after some time, accepts the idea that what the colonizer is saying is absolutely true. সত্যি তো, আমার মধ্যে তো কলোনাইজারের মতো এত জ্ঞান, এত এনলাইটেনমেন্ট, এত আলোক প্রাপ্তি আমার মধ্যে ঘটেনি। এটা যখন সে ভাবতে শুরু করে এবং যে মুহূর্তে সে তার কালচারকে ইনফিরিয়ার ভাবতে শুরু করে, সেই মুহূর্ত থেকে কিন্তু কলোনাইজার ইজ নট অনলি কলোনাইজড ইউ imperially through the imperial dominance, he also is trying to hegemonize your mind. তুমি মনের দিক থেকে তখন colonized হলে, and as a result the native comes to see himself as evil, as pagan and as primitive. The black man loses his own self and identity because he can only see himself through the eyes of the white man. And this is a very important juncture, because the colonized at this particular point of time loses all form of self or respect. And Fanon argues that for the native the term man itself begins to mean white man, because he begins thinking through the gaze, through the eyes of the white people, and because he does not see himself as a man at all, this erasure of his manly identity leads to the dissolution of all forms of self-confidence and self-respect. So in terms of culture, the native extends this accepted notion to believe that the only values that matter are those of the white man. The only values that matter are those of the white man, and on the other hand, for the white man, the native is always negative, the primitive other, the very opposite of what his culture stands for. His superior Western culture actually stands for racial supremacy, logic and reason, while these people are black, they are evil, they are pagan, they are primitive. So Fanon here develops a psychoanalytic theory of colonialism, where he suggests that the European self develops in its relation and encounter with the other. That the European self is building their own identity in contrast with, in relation with, in a negotiation with this other. নিজের সেলফটাকে এস্টাবলিশ করছে, আমি সুপিরিয়ার, আমি হোয়াইট, আমি এসেনশিয়ালি কালচারালি ফুল অফ লজিক্যাল and reasonable thinking, and hence I am superior to those negative, black, primitive, pagan people. So I am the white European people trying to establish their identity in comparison with those black, primitive, pagan people. So thus colonialism engages the white and the native in an encounter and relation where one develops only in its contrast with the other. So this particular psychopathological aspects of colonialism for the first time revealed by Frantz Fanon in his canonical and seminal texts of post-colonialism, The Wretched of the Earth. So Fanon propounded, and Pramod Nair puts it brilliantly, that colonialism is a violent conjugation where the sense of the self develops through a negotiation rather than a separation, a relation rather than disjunction with the other. So colonialism is a violent conjugation. While it's a conjugation, it's a conjunction, because the sense of the self, amar je identity, white, masculine, superior European race identity amra develop korchi through a form of dialogue, through a form of negotiation with the other, with black, African pagan people. ব্রিটিশ ইন্ডিয়াতে এসে একজন ভাইসরয় লর্ড ক্লাইভ ফর এক্সাম্পল, সে এসে বলল, দেখো ওই নেটিভগুলো কি বর্বর, কি বারবেরিয়ান। যে মুহূর্তে বলল সে নেটিভগুলো বারবেরিয়ান, দে আর আনকালচার্ড, আনএডুকেটেড, সেই মুহূর্তে সে তার নিজের আইডেন্টিটিকে এস্টাবলিশ করলো ইন কন্ট্রাস্ট উইথ দ্য other entity of the Indian tribal people, for example, তার সঙ্গে নিজের কম্প্যারিজন করে। আসলে কিন্তু কম্প্যারিজনটা পসিবলই নয়, কারণ দুটো ডিফারেন্ট কালচারাল ওয়ার্ল্ডে দুটো জিনিস বিলং করে। বেসিক্যালি ইটস ফিলোসফিক্যালি ইটস এ ক্যাটেগরি মিস্টেক, কম্পেয়ার করা যায় না, কারণ কালচার, দেয়ার ইজ নো সাচ নোশন অ্যাজ পিওরিটি ইন দ্য কালচার। সাংস্কৃতিক বিশুদ্ধতাবাদ বলে কিছু হয় না, কোনোটা ভালো কালচার, কোনো খারাপ কালচার বলে কিছু হয় না। But colonialism is a violent process because it builds its identity through a violent conjugation where the sense of the self develops through a negotiation with the other, with the identity of the colonized. So for the native only, the way of dealing with this psychological inadequacy is by trying to be as white as possible. So they always tries to be very white, very European, but the native takes on Western values, and hence they takes on Western values, they embrace the Western religion, Christianity, the language and the practices of the white colonial thinkers, the language like French and English, and rejects his own traditions, and he puts on, in Fanon's phrase, white masks, সাদা মুখোশ, সাদা চামড়ার মুখোশ সে পরে নিতে আরম্ভ করে। সে চেষ্টা করে যে ওই ধরনের প্র্যাকটিস, ওই ধরনের রিলিজিয়াস প্র্যাকটিস, ক্রিশ্চিয়ানিটি, ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজকে এমব্রেস করা, বিকজ ইট ইজ এসেনশিয়ালি সুপিরিয়ার টু হিম। বাট হাউএভার দিস মাস্ক ওভার দ্য ব্ল্যাক স্কিন ইজ নট অ্যাট অল আ পারফেক্ট সলিউশন। Fanon argues that the native experiences a schizophrenic rift, a schizophrenic condition as a result of this duality. And hence he says that black skin and white mask, because white mask is not a very commensurable and suitable thing in the black skin. সাদা চামড়ার মুখোশ কালো চামড়ার স্কিনে কি সুটেবল হতে পারে? সুটেবল হয়নি এক্ষেত্রেও, because it is not a perfect solution. And hence when this indigenous people tries to embrace the foreign culture, he is not able to cope himself up with this culture, and from this failure there springs a form of schizophrenic characteristic trait inside him. তার নিজের মধ্যে একটা bipolar disorder created হচ্ছে, and therefrom springs a form of dual personality disorder inside the mindscape of the native. The build-up of this sense of inadequacy and inferiority in the colonized psyche, argues Fanon, results in violence. Violence, Fanon says, is a form of self-assertion. যখন আমি নিজেকে কিছুতেই কোনোভাবে আমার মধ্যে এই ডুয়ালিটি, এই ডুয়াল পার্সোনালিটি ডিসঅর্ডারকে আটকাতে পারছি না, তখনই there occurs violence. When the native discovers that he cannot hope to become truly white or even expel the whites, he will not be able to expel the whites through his military power. He will not be able to, in fact, transform himself into a fully white man. And hence, his violence then erupts against his own people. তাদের নিজেদের লোকের প্রতি তার রাগটা তৈরি হয়। যেরকমভাবে when you are, for example, preparing for the examination and you failed, for example, in the examination, you will definitely engage yourself in a blame game where you will blame your mother and father. In the same way, these native people actually turned against his own people. This violence erupts against his own people. And thus, according to Fanon, tribal words are an instance of this violence generated through the colonial system, where the wretched turn upon each other, haunted by a failure to turn against the colonial master. As he is not militarily equipped enough to turn against this white colonial force, these wretched of the earth, these small tribal people, they engage themselves in a war with each other. নিজেদের মধ্যে যুদ্ধ করে মরল, সাহেবদের সঙ্গে যুদ্ধ করল। Fanon recognized the significance of cultural nationalism when he propounded the idea of a national literature and national culture in his essay on the same name, National Literature and National Culture, leading to a national consciousness. But his deployment of the term national culture was an attempt to plead for a greater pan-African cause, not just narrow sectarian tribal ones. So Fanon for the first time talks about this form of cultural nationalism, because this cultural nationalism would actually bring a form of unity among all nations in Africa. And he says that this deployment of the national culture is very essential for the pan-African unity. The blacks had to create their own history. They have to construct their own narratives of history, write their own stories, and it is through this control over representation that the native can break free of the colonial shackles. Only through building their own narratives, their own voices, by creating their own stories, the native can break free from the colonial shackles. Colonial shackle থেকে native শুধুমাত্র তার নিজস্ব মাইথোলজি, নিজস্ব গল্প, নিজস্ব প্যাগান ন্যারেটিভ, নিজেদের গল্প বলে স্বাধীনতা পেতে পারে। By building a form of national culture. যদি আমি ন্যাশনাল কালচার নিয়ে বিল্ড করি, আমার যদি আমার কালচারাল ফাউন্ডেশনই ঠিক না থাকে, তাহলে আমি কেমন করে কলোনাইজারদের এগেনস্টে ফাইট করব? On the basis of which ideology? Because this form of negotiation or fight with the colonizer always involves a form of ideological foundation. এক ধরনের আদর্শগত ভিত্তি লাগে। এই আদর্শের ভিত্তিটা কি? এই আদর্শের ভিত্তিটা হবে আমার টু বিল্ড a form of national culture and national literature. Though the term pan-African literature or pan-African national culture is quite ambivalent in nature, I would say, because Africa is a very heterogeneous country with various forms, with thousands kinds of cultural forms and religious sects and creeds. But again, this pan-African nationalism is essential in order to banish the European forces, propounded by Fanon. So, according to Fanon, such a national culture must take recourse to or return to the African myths and cultural practices. As I have said, Igbo myths, other forms of African myths. African culture and African myths are definitely radically different from the European cultures, from the Greek and the Roman mythology. যদি তুমি তোমার নিজের কালচারকে সামনে প্রমোট করতে না পারো, যদি তুমি সারেন্ডার করো টু দ্য ইউরোপিয়ান ফোর্সেস, তাহলে তুমি তোমার ইডিওলজিক্যাল ফাউন্ডেশন দিয়ে উইথ দ্য ইউরোপিয়ান সাহেবস এন্ড দ্য আদার্স তাদের সঙ্গে ফাইট করতে পারবে না। এইটাই বারবার ফানো বলার চেষ্টা করেছেন। সো অ্যাকর্ডিং টু ফানো, a national culture is framed in 3 stages. In the first stage, the native intellectual is under the influence of the colonizer's culture and seeks to emulate and imitate and assimilate it by abandoning his own. So in the very first stage, the native intellectual is trying to mimic the colonizer's culture, and he tries to emulate and imitate his culture by abandoning his own culture. নিজের কালচার ছেড়ে কলোনিয়াল কালচারকে এমব্রেস করার চেষ্টা করছে in the first stage. So he says that it is within through these 3 stages a national culture is actually framed, and he emphasized on the revival of the various African myths and the cultural practices, because it is within this mythic, cultural and even mystic traditions of Africa that black identity can be resurrected, only by reviving these various forms of unknown cultural and mystical traditions. So the native in this first stage thus tries to be as white as possible. In the second stage, the native discovers that he can never become truly white. He realizes that he will never be able to transform himself into a white man or white enough for the colonial master to treat him as equal. The native intellectual now turns to study his own culture and might even romanticize his own traditions and past. So through this process of realization that he will never be able to transform himself into a white man, he goes back or went back to his own culture and romanticizes about his own traditions and past. And here Fanon suggests that there is no critical engagement with the native cultures, just a celebratory tone. What you need is a critical engagement with your own indigenous culture. What does it mean, critical engagement? Critical engagement মানে তুমি তোমার নিজের কালচারকে সমালোচনা করবে, ক্রিটিক করবে, সেই কালচারেরও যে ভুল দিকগুলো সেগুলো বার করার চেষ্টা করবে। এরকম নয় যে ফর এক্সাম্পল অ্যান ইন্ডিয়ান রিচুয়াল লাইক দ্য রিচুয়াল অফ দ্য সতী ইজ এ ট্র্যাডিশনাল ফর্ম অফ রিচুয়াল, যেখানে একটা সতীকে দাহ করা হতো, পুরানো হতো। এটা কি খুব ভালো? ভালো নয়। ইউ হ্যাভ টু ক্রিটিক ইটসেলফ, যেটা বিদ্যাসাগর করেছিল, যে এই পার্টিকুলার ফর্ম অফ রিচুয়ালিস্টিক প্র্যাকটিসকে ক্রিটিসাইজ করা, লর্ড বেন্টিংয়ের সাহায্য নিয়ে অ্যাবলিশ করা এই পার্টিকুলার নিজের কালচারকে। কিন্তু তা বলে কি এন্টায়ার উপনিষদিক কালচার, দ্য ধম্মপদাস, দ্য উপনিষদস অ্যান্ড দ্য other philosophical repository of India, এই ফিলোসফিক্যাল যে রিপোজিটরি, এগুলো কি খারাপ হয়ে গেল? তা তো নয়। আমি আমার কালচারের একটা স্পেসিফিক সাইডকে ক্রিটিসাইজ করছি, তার মানে এটা কখনোই নয় যে আমি আমার কালচারের সমগ্রটাকে ক্রিটিসাইজ করছি। বাট ইন দি সেকেন্ড স্টেজ, দ্য নেটিভস রোম্যান্টিসাইজ হিজ ওন ট্র্যাডিশনস অ্যান্ড পাস্ট। He do not engage himself into a critical engagement with his own indigenous cultures. Just a celebratory tone is present there. So in the third stage, the native intellectual becomes truly anti-colonial. He joins the ranks of his people and battles the colonial domination. This is accompanied by a very careful analysis of his own culture. Now, such an analysis hopes to abandon those elements of native culture that seem dated or even oppressive, so that a new future is made possible. So for example, in India, the Brahmanism, Brahmonobad, Banglaয় বলতে গেলে, it's not a boost, but rather it can be treated as a form of evil which operates in the Indian psychology for thousands of years. For example, the cards of the untouchability, ausprishyata, আমি কাকে স্পর্শ করব না স্পর্শ করব না সেটা সমাজ ঠিক করে দেবে। এগুলো তো আমাদের নেটিভ ইন্ডিজিনাস কালচারের মধ্যে চিরকালই ছিল। অ্যান্ড দিজ ক্যান বি ট্রিটেড অ্যাজ নেগেটিভ পয়েন্টস অর নেগেটিভ রিচুয়ালস ইন আওয়ার ট্র্যাডিশন। তো ন্যাচারালি যখন আমি আমার ট্র্যাডিশনকে সামনে রাখবো, উই হ্যাভ টু ক্রিটিক্যালি এঙ্গেজ উইথ দিজ রিচুয়ালস। আমাদেরকে বলতে হবে এইগুলো খারাপ। These rituals are essentially oppressive, suppressive and dated in nature, and hence we have to exclude these forms of rituals in our cultural practices. সেইটা যখন আমি করতে পারবো, when I'll be able to reject these forms of rituals from our culture and abandon these evil elements from our native culture, I will arrive what Fanon described on the third stage of building our national culture. So however, Fanon was also very much prophetic enough to argue that the idea of a national literature and national culture might result in xenophobia, in killing of the other races and intolerance. And he proposed that national culture had a very limited value. It could help define native culture against the overwhelming assault of the colonial. However, the return to the pre-colonial past after the decolonization through the espousal of a pre-colonial national culture did not guarantee that the working classes and the oppressed would benefit. So Fanon was very prophetic, and he said that if we return to our pre-colonial past, it will definitely not guarantee economic freedom, or it will not guarantee the emancipation of the working classes and the emancipation of the oppressed people. For such a national culture to be effective, it has to be account for and remedy the economic conditions of the working class. So like almost Karl Marx, Fanon, a French West Indian psychiatrist, also emphasized on the economic freedom of the working class. In order to achieve this economic freedom, what we need is economic independence. So with this, Fanon actually was moving away from a purely representational and cultural view of a national identity towards a more materialist economic one, just like Karl Marx. And Fanon was one of the first theorists to realize that the anti-colonial struggle must be fought at the level of both the culture and the economics. So it will be a form of combined attack of both cultural nationalism and economic freedom, just as post-colonial states would have to frame their identities within the cultural and economic domains. So Fanon's viewpoints were extremely original. He for the first time actually revealed the psychopathological impact of colonialism on the colonizer. But however, ironically, Fanon says and argued that these power struggles between the colonial master and the native subject ends with political independence. But however, this soon re-emerges in a different form. The battle for power between the elites and the rest in the post-colonial state. So a free post-colonial state, in a free post-colonial state, there is always the possibility of the battle between the elites and the non-elites. The native elites occupy the spaces of power once occupied by the white masters, and the corruption, oppression and exploitation of the working classes continue. যেটা ভারতবর্ষের ক্ষেত্রে অনেকেই বলে যে ক্ষমতা দখল করলো কতিপয় কিছু এলিট পলিটিক্যাল লিডাররা পরবর্তীকালে ভারতের স্বাধীনতার পরে, এবং the exploitation of the working classes continue. এটা not only in case of India, but also this is true of African and other post-colonial nations. So this has been beautifully described in I.Q. Yarmaha's book, The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born. So this in effect is actually a part of neo-colonialism. The middle classes and intellectual classes of the native country that were educated in the colonial system. They now acquire power and duplicate the unjust and exploitative colonial masters. So this is a rather a kind of replacement, replacing the colonial masters, exploitative colonial masters, with the elite native intellectual class. And after the acquirement and after the gaining some sort of power, they actually ironically, very ironically, mimic these colonial masters. So this is the thinking propounded by Frantz Fanon in his two famous and now seminal and canonical books, The Wretched of the Earth and Black Skin, White Masks. So so I have trying to cover Frantz Fanon's notion of psychopathology of colonialism, and in the next lecture I'll move into Gayatri Chakraborty, I'll move into Edward Said. But before moving into Edward Said, I will now discuss about negritude. What is negritude? Negritude was basically, it's a movement founded by the Martinican poet Aimé Césaire Léopold Senghor, who later became the president of the Senegal, Léon Damas of the French Guiana. They created a movement which talks about consciousness of and pride in the cultural and physical aspects of the African heritage. It takes pride on both the cultural and physical aspects of the African heritage. আমাকে দেখতে অন্যরকম হতে পারে. I can be a different human being in my anatomical and physical structure from the Europeans, but at the same time I take pride in my anatomical variation. So negritude is the state or condition of being black. This was a thinking propounded by Aimé Césaire, Léopold Senghor and Léon Damas of the French Guiana. This question can be asked in 2 marks or 5 marks. And Fanon was himself he was though not directly associated with negritude, this movement of negritude, but he was influenced by his teacher Aimé Césaire a lot. So negritude intellectuals disavowed colonialism and argued for the importance of a Pan-African sense of being among people of African descent worldwide. And they have employed the Marxist political philosophy in the black radical tradition. So they for the first time employed this Marxist political philosophy in the black radical tradition. The writers drew heavily on a surrealist literary style, and some say that they were also being influenced somewhat by the surrealist stylistics, the writings of and the paintings of Salvador Dali and others. So in their work, often they explore the experience of diasporic being, asserting oneself and identity, and ideas of home and homegoing and belonging, etc. So this negritude, this movement of negritude should be studied or can be studied along with Fanon's thinking on the psychopathological impact of colonialism. So in my next lecture, I'll move into Edward Said, perhaps the most celebrated academician who established this entire school of post-colonial studies in our modern theoretical terms. So I'll move into Edward Said in my next lecture. Thank you. See you in the next lecture.